teaching elementary music is great, but if you're anything like me, you were all excited to teach elementary music and you were all excited, and then you got to sit down for your first set of lesson plans. Maybe you grabbed a cup of coffee and you were like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to teach. If that was you, you were not alone, because that was my thing. I almost had a mental breakdown my first month of school because I was like, I don't even know what to teach. And it just was like so stressful to me. So in today's video, we're gonna talk about what to teach in elementary music, and specifically what a scope and sequence is, so that you can make sure that your kids are learning as best as they can. So if you are excited about that, definitely hit the subscribe button down below. If you are an elementary music teacher and you are new or new-ish, then you can click the link down below to get access to my free music course for elementary music teachers. It goes through, it's 7 days, and each day you get a short video that goes over a concept, and then lots of helpful links to blog posts and videos and freebies, lots and lots of freebies. So we talk about things like how to teach rhythm, how to teach melody, what to actually do, how to structure your day. We talk about classroom management. We talk about all the things that you need to know. So definitely click the link down below if you are new or new-ish, and if you know a new teacher, you can feel free to send it to them. With that, let's hop into today's video. Okay, so for your scope and sequence, the first place you're gonna wanna look is you're gonna wanna cheat. So by that I mean you want to go look at somebody else's scope and sequence, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to start from scratch. So what I did is I did something very fancy, and I just Googled Kodai music sequence. And the one that popped up was from the Holy Names database, which is a huge database of lots and lots of folk songs. And they also have a sample sequence of elements, so I will link it down below. And so that is what gave me kind of my start. So I took that, and then I went and I looked up my state standards. So if you are in the US, you will probably have state standards for music. I know we have standards for everything our kids need to learn in elementary music. And so I took these two things and I went for it. I like having both of them because then I can see kind of two different perspectives of what I need to teach, and knowing like this is what I have to teach and this is like a really good sequence to do it in, and it just kind of going with that and then making it my own. Now there are other places that you can get your sequence. I will recommend and also link below the book Lesson Planning in a Kodai Setting. It is a fabulous book for, even if you're not like a Kodai teacher, really great book for thinking about lesson planning and how to go about that, and just really, really highly recommend. It's pretty short, so I will leave it linked down below. It's from West Music, which is the bomb. So with that, then you're gonna go to step number 2, and that's to figure out how many times you're actually gonna see your kids. So you really want to spend a good bit of time on all of the main concepts, especially melodic and rhythmic concepts. Some of our standards are things like sing alone and with others. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's something that you're gonna do every day, and maybe not something that's gonna take like all the time. Another one we have in Georgia is orally distinguish between a man and a woman singing. We don't need to spend like months and months working on that. That's kind of one you can kind of throw in as you go about, but things like how to read quarter and eighth note are a pretty big deal. So you want to make sure that those are things that you have figured out and planned out, and you're going to want to spend a lot of time on them. I've read differing opinions, but from what I can figure out from all the different books that I've read and all the articles I've read, you want to shoot for about 8 to 10 lessons on one concept at a minimum. Most of them being lessons where you haven't actually introduced it. So about 5 to 8 where you're using the concept, but you're not actually naming it yet. You're just kind of prepping. So if you're working on half note, you want to spend 5 to 8 lessons at least singing half notes, playing half notes, you know, kind of going through all those different things where you're figuring out like, this note is really long. It goes over 2 beats, but you're not actually saying like this is a half note until the kids really understand it. So it's basically like they already know that it's a thing, they just don't know what it looks like yet. So you want to spend about 5 to 8 times lessons where you're working on half note, again, singing half notes, playing half notes, doing all those things before you ever get to actually saying like this is a half note. And then after that, you're going to want to practice it. So again, 8 to 10 lessons-ish on a concept. So I like to stagger mine. So what I mean by that is I'll do like a rhythmic concept, and then when we're maybe like sort of done prepping it, then I'll start prepping our melodic concept while we learn about the rhythmic concept. And then once, you know, we've got that down and now we're like halfway through this one, then we'll start. And so we go kind of back and forth between like rhythm, melody, rhythm, melody. That's just a personal thing. You can do whatever you would like and what's best for your kiddos. And so I kind of guesstimate about 3 months for each. I see my kids for a week at a time, about once a month, which is super funky, I'm aware. But what that means is I pretty much say, okay, we're learning half note. In all of September, we're prepping half note. In October, we're gonna continue prepping and maybe introduce half note, present half note. And then we're gonna start working on, I don't know, la or do or whatever we're on. We're so messed up this year because of COVID that it's just like, I don't even know what we're doing. But then we're gonna start, you know, on our melodic concept, and then we'll present and start practicing this one before we present and practice the melodic concept. And so we kind of stagger. So we would do like, again, September, prepping half note, October, maybe presenting half note and prepping la or do, and then in November we're, you know, kind of reviewing half note. We're still practicing it, we're working on half note, and we're starting to look more at do. And so that's kind of how I like to do mine. You can do yours however you would like, because we all see our students at different amounts of times. We all have different backgrounds with our students. You know, if you've had your kids since kindergarten, it's totally different than if you just got there the first time and they're in 5th grade. So it's gonna be, you know, really based on your kiddos. But I like to kind of map out and figure out how many times am I actually going to see these kids over the course of the year. And remember, things like at the end of the year, everything goes crazy because there's like field trips and there's testing and there's all these things that kind of throw wrenches into your lessons. So it's not a great time to present a new concept. So really think through like how often you're going to see your kids. When you look at the Holy Names one, by the way, it's going to be like, wow, that's a lot of concepts. You probably won't get to all those concepts, and it's okay. I don't know how often they see their kids, but it's a lot more than I see my kiddos. So you have our permission to not do that. Now, with all that being said, I will also say the traditional Kodai way is to spend all of kindergarten, or at least most of kindergarten, doing preparatory activities. So working on high and low, and working on fast and slow, and working on steady beat, and those kind of things, not actual like concepts. I personally don't teach kindergarten, so I do this for the first few months of 1st grade. They do have music in kindergarten, but I don't know what they do. So I like to spend the first few months of 1st grade just really making sure that they know all of those things, like singing voice and keeping the steady beat, and, you know, just all of those kind of things to make sure that they're ready in order to learn their first concept. So don't stress about it. The main thing is that your kids are learning. So if you are, you know, like not teaching tons and tons of concepts, but they're learning them really well, that's okay, because the idea is that they become really great musicians. And also, again, what's going to work for one group of kids is not what's going to work for the other. And so you might have years where things are going to be a little bit different, and that's also okay. The wonderful thing about teaching music is that no one's really telling you what to do. We have a new art teacher this year, and she came from 1st grade, and I was like, you know, the great thing about our job is that people aren't really telling us what to do. Like, I can teach whatever I really want to, but also the worst thing about our job is that no one's telling us what to do. And so sometimes you're like, I have no idea what's happening, which is why you're here watching this video. So that's kind of the main thing. I will go through and give like a, this is my like estimated, you know, this is when we're going to teach this is when we're going to teach that, and all of those good things. But again, don't be married to it. It might change. That's okay. It's a living, fluid document, and that is not a problem. The other thing you want to have with your scope and sequence is that you want to have a list of songs and games and things that you can do with each of those concepts. So this is really important, because otherwise you don't really know what to do. As music teachers, typically what we do is base our lessons off of the songs that we're teaching. So if I'm teaching quarter rest, then I have these songs that all use quarter rest that I can use maybe as listening examples, maybe as singing examples, maybe playing instruments. We can do all these different things with quarter rest, in addition to things like, you know, just games that go with rhythms and are not connected to songs. These are really important because it gives you so many more options that you're not like stressed about like, how do I actually teach quarter rest, because it's like already incorporated into what you're doing, which is great. So if I'm teaching, you know, let's say if I'm teaching quarter and eighth note, I might use the song Apple Tree, or I might sing the song Good Night, or I might sing, you know, I have, and you can do this, the very simplest way to do it would be just to open a Google Doc and to write quarter and eighth note, rest, half note. And then every time you find a song you want to do, or that you do and you like it, put it under those categories, even if it's not what you're doing now, so that when you get to 16th notes, you can look back and be like, oh yeah, that's a fun song for 16th notes. And then you already are like a leg up. The longer you do this, the better and easier it gets. And you can, of course, make it much fancier. I have like a whole Kodai retrieval system that I got from my Kodai levels. But in the simplest form, you want to have just a Google Doc with songs and maybe links to where you found them, or page numbers. I like to do that. I'll be like, it's in this book on this page, because I won't remember, or different things like that to help you remember what it is. You can also get much fancier. Again, you know, you can have a whole binder, you can have tabs if you prefer it printed out, you can have, you know, tabs for each different concept, you can have a whole thing. You can make it really complicated, and you can go for it. But you can also make it pretty simple, especially if you are new and you just need to kind of start. So all of that to say, that's kind of how you make a scope and sequence. So you just really think like, okay, what are all the things we need to do? How often am I realistically going to see my kiddos? What is that going to translate to in real life? And if it doesn't work out that way, it's not a big deal. And so feel free to change things. It's not, you know, again, don't be married to it. It's just a guideline. It's an idea, and do what's best with your kiddos. I think that's all I have to say about our scope and sequence. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you're an elementary music teacher, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and don't forget, if you are new, to sign up for our free music teacher course. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's like a short video every day for 7 days, and on one concept. It includes freebies, it includes lots of links to other helpful things, and you'll have access to it forever. So if you watch something and 6 months down the road you're like, oh my gosh, what was that one thing that I heard the one time, you can go back and watch it again and all that good stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.